My name is David Madison, the 30th of November 2019. I was a Methodist minister for 9 years, but by the time I finished my PhD in biblical studies, my belief in God had evaporated. I'm an ex-clergy atheist. That wasn't supposed to happen. Seminaries exist to manufacture clergy, but if you look at the Bible too carefully, too closely, too critically, the errors and flaws become all too obvious. Hence the title of this series of flash podcasts, Bible Blunders and Bad Theology. I will talk about a lot of them. This is episode 13. When we look at all that was thrown together in the New Testament, we have to wonder, didn't anybody have any fact-checking skills? Didn't anybody bother to compare stories? The contradictions, the blunders are so glaring. Here's an example from the book of Acts. While Paul was traveling to Damascus to persecute Christians, so the story goes, the famous story, Jesus appeared to him from the sky. Paul was blinded by the light and was taken on to Damascus by his companions. A man named Ananias helped Paul recover. He was baptized and began to preach about Jesus. But the local Jews got so upset that they plotted to kill Paul, but he escaped and made his way back to Jerusalem. And this is what we read in Acts chapter 9. When he had come to Jerusalem, he attempted to join the disciples, but they were all afraid of him, for they did not believe that he was a disciple. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and described for them how on the road he had seen the Lord, who had spoken to him, and how in Damascus he had spoken boldly in the name of Jesus. So he went in and out among them in Jerusalem, speaking boldly in the name of the Lord. Acts was written some 50 or more years after Paul's conversion. Where did the author get his information? This is embarrassing. Paul tells a different story about what happened. No, he didn't go to Jerusalem right away, and no, he didn't mingle with the disciples. By the way, Paul was certain that Jesus would be arriving soon on the clouds of heaven to set up his kingdom. He would have been stunned at the very idea that 50 years later, someone would even still be around to write a story about what had happened. This is what Paul wrote in his letter to the Galatians. When God was pleased to reveal his Son to me so that I might proclaim him among the Gentiles, I did not confer with any human being, nor did I go up to Jerusalem to those who were already apostles before me. He didn't go to Jerusalem, but I went away at once into Arabia, and afterwards I returned to Damascus. Then after 3 years I did go up to Jerusalem to visit Cephas, another name for Peter, and stayed with him 15 days. But I did not see any other apostle except James, the Lord's brother. In what I am writing to you before God, I do not lie. He also wrote, the gospel that was proclaimed by me is not of human origin, for I did not receive it from a human source, nor was I taught it, but I received it through a revelation of Jesus Christ. So all of Paul's knowledge about Jesus came from his visions, his hallucinations. That's a perfect formula for bad theology. One of the strange things, too, about the book of Acts is that it makes no mention at all of Paul writing letters. And in all of his letters, Paul says nothing about being converted on the Damascus road. When the New Testament was assembled, nobody was put in charge of fact-checking. That was a major blunder.